And today marks the first day of the IDEAs Pre-G20 Conference in Johannesburg, where global policymakers, economists and thought leaders are exploring bold approaches to reshape economic policy from industrial development and financial autonomy in the global south. News Central senior business correspondent Joanna Mustapha is on the ground with more. Hi, Joanna. How are you doing today?
I'm very well, thank you. And of course, ready for the conference. It has started. We have just concluded the morning session. Yesterday evening, we had the roundtable, and of course, it's rightfully positioned here in South Africa ahead of the G20 Leadership Annual Summit here in South Africa. It's being hosted on the continent for the first time ever, and of course, it poses an opportunity for Africa to bring her agenda to the table. For over the past 1 year, South Africa has held the presidency of the G20 Summit and led with the theme solidarity, equality and sustainability. Of course, yesterday we had the former Minister for Trade and Industry in person of Dr. Rob Davies. He stated that those three words, that is equality, sustainability and solidarity, are words that America and members of the UN no longer want to hear and consider swear words. So, of course, that calls the question, the legacy South Africa will leave behind in its presidency. We know that trade is being rebalanced globally now in favor of the United States. And that also includes some sort of attempt to revert to the neo-colonial approach to trade, where Africa's value is just in the raw materials it brings forward. So this conference is pretty much a pushback to such ideologies. Matters of debt are also being brought forward. It's been cited that public debt in sub-Saharan Africa has more than tripled over the last couple of years, and attention is being brought to that for debt cancellation, debt reduction, renegotiations, considering the deals that those debts were acquired on. And we know the story about credit rating agencies and Africa's attempt to come up with their own credit rating agency. So conversation around debt sustainability, debtors are coming together against creditors. There are also conversations around financing development projects, right? And it being done in local currency. Examples were cited from Southeast Asia. There's a lot of talk around FDI being some sort of source for GDP capital formation. And, example from Southeast Asia actually shows that developments, right, was driven largely by internally generated capital as opposed to foreign direct investments. And again, Africa looking within itself to develop itself with its own funding in local currency, and also perhaps that bringing an end to dollar hegemony.
Absolutely. Domestic resource, mobilization is one thing we'll always talk about. And of course, the debts and all of those things. I hope that, after all these conversations, things will materially change. But tell us, what should we expect moving forward? What are your expectations in about 30 seconds?
Yes, expectations, of course, will be more conversations and awakening. This here, we may not have needle-moving projects coming out of here, but of course, policy suggestions will be brought forward. There's an attempt for a paradigm shift when it comes to economic policy. Frameworks, perhaps, hopefully, will be put together and ahead of the G20 summits, where communiques will be issued, and hopefully strong frameworks enough to channel funding that will end in needle-moving projects.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Joanna Mustapha, senior business correspondent, News Central Television, for your time and, of course, sharing with us what's happening over there. Enjoy.